Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions, 4 p.m. BST on a Tuesday afternoon. Today I have with me Ivelin Demirov, Leo Limin, Ellis Whitehead, and of course back to the show is Brandon Young. And today what we're going to be talking about, we call it the luck of the Amazon seller. Now, before I get trolled by everyone in the groups, effectively luck is also created as well. So it's not a thing that we all think that everyone's very lucky. You got to make your luck. You got to work hard. You got to be talented. There's time and there's market fit and everything else. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to bring in some of the strongest minds in the industry that's seen a shit ton of data, who understands all the different dynamics, and have some interesting conversation in and around this. I think it's really important for people to understand, you know, like the expectancy to have hit after hit after hit, the realistic expectations of those, the timing of 2015 up to now, which is 2021, the dynamics of how that changes. Of course, you know, when we're looking at, you know, you've got the hero product and then considered as also rounds and how they're managed out of the process, and being a success in, say, one category and going from one category to another, but just can't realize that level of success again. So today I'm going to just do the quick introductions. I'll go around the table, introduce himself. I'll share to the groups, and then we'll get this conversation underway. Up first, Ivelin Demirov, can you give introduction, please?
Yeah. Introduction to
who you are for people listening on the show.
Thinking how to define like in a way. Yeah, I'm an Amazon seller for a few years now, founder of Orange Hat Summit and the River Cleaner software tool. I'm particularly interested in A9, so I'm doing a lot of research on the A9, and yeah, that's about it.
Excellent. Over to you, Leo. Welcome back to the show. I think you made your debut last year, didn't you? You came on, we've done a show together. So welcome back.
Thank you, Danny. Well, my name is Leo. I'm an MDS member, $1 Million Seller Club, $1 Million Seller Group member. Also, I'm a co-founder and CTO of Rebate Key. Some of you may have used it to launch products and whatnot. And also, I'm a CEO and founder and co-founder of Elite Seller and Pixel 5. Yeah, that's it. I've been 20 years in e-commerce and software development, and what I see in Amazon is very familiar to me as to what happened with Google before. So we can talk about it.
Superb. Ellis, you're up next.
Hi, I'm Ellis, co-founder of Databrill, along with Danny, and my background is largely from the science statistics sort of region, and we're applying this to luck today. And since luck is in my sort of probability and statistics background, that plays a huge role. It's a topic I really quite like.
Superb. And Brandon.
Hey guys, Brandon Young. Wife and I run an 8-figure Amazon business. We also teach others how to research, start, and scale their Amazon brands through seller systems, multiple different master classes, and our college level course.
Sounds good. Ellis, as the original idea, the idea is coming from having conversations with you. Can we talk from your perspective of the luck of an Amazon seller and what we're talking about, the probability, the statistics and stuff, and then we can then share across the room and have a further discussion as well?
Yeah, sure. So, you know, you could probably go on about this topic for a couple hours. So I'll just, you know, kind of touch on to maybe a couple points, and, you know, so don't take too much time. The first thing is to distinguish, are we talking about normal success or super success? And these are two entirely different realms. And if we're talking about normal success, some normal level of success, then I would say that's really quite reproducible. If you have a good plan and good strategy and you follow through with it, and this is, I mean, luck always comes in, and you are lucky enough to avoid excessive bad luck. And excessive bad luck can always happen. You do not have control over, the environment around you too much. And we have an example of this from one of our recent ex-clients, where his business from COVID was hit so badly, he has now 1/10 of the sales that he had before. It just happens to be in an area that, COVID destroyed. And there was nothing he did wrong. In terms of, nothing wrong with his plan, nothing wrong with his strategy, but it, hit at the wrong time. And yeah, so those sorts of things can happen. But in general, if you avoid excessive bad luck, if you're lucky enough to avoid excessive bad luck, then sure, good plans and persistence will get you to a reasonable level of success again.
Sounds good.
But
cool.
But if it's about super success, then no, it won't happen again. And we've seen this, at least if you start over again, it won't happen again. If it's in the same store, you can reproduce it. But if you just start totally over again, I haven't seen it happen really repeatedly.
And give me some definitions there of that, because I think we've had a discussion before where you talk about we talk about hero products, and I've seen hundreds of accounts, and it's the same patterns I've seen over and over again, unless of course they've got thousands of SKUs and their model is sell 1 or 2 units every other day or whatever, and it all kind of blends together. But I think when you're going into the high velocity categories and stuff, there does seem to be the hits and the also ran. So I'm more than happy for people to weigh in there and have their thoughts as well. But quickly, Ellis, what is your take on that?
Yeah, that's an example of where if you're starting from scratch, you cannot plan on having the same. You're really successful. You think, I'm going to sell my business, start over again. You cannot rationally plan on expect to have the same level of success as before, because there were so many factors that came together to happen to, be fortunate to encourage that success. And maybe it was that you broke ground and you didn't know. I mean, so many things can play a role. If you try to do the same thing again, of course, you're not breaking ground anymore. And usually with businesses that really become super successful, I'm not talking Amazon, I'm talking, across the globe, they do not know, the decisions that lead to whatever happened that they took off, they don't know that's going to happen beforehand. And so if you talk to the people who became really successful and you try to reproduce what they did, it might be a good plan, but it's not going to have the same effect.
Yeah. Cool. Leo, you was nodding for a bit. What's your take on the position of luck?
Well, I agree almost with everything Alice just said. Luck has a lot to play in Amazon game, especially not that much the lack of launching. Launching has been figured out, and you can launch products, just follow the formula. Mostly, you don't control who buys your product, and that affects your rankings a lot, and who attacks your product. So the minute you get to the top, there are a lot of bad players, and something happens to you. You don't even know what happens, and you stop ranking. But a lot of this is, adverse competition, bad competition, right? As far as luck and consistency, I know if we just, narrow down to Amazon, not say people cannot reproduce the same luck. I know people who do reproduce the same level of success in completely different businesses.
But you know what?
Elon Musk, for example.
That's that Dr. Dre thing. There's some certain people out there that tend to have that run, like an Elon Musk for a bad example. Yeah. But is that also attained by everyone? Does everyone have the resources and stuff? Because I know people that have hits and who are close to doing 100 million, if not blasted past that, but I don't know many of them. Does that make sense? And that doesn't mean the next guy or next woman next to them are not good, but there's some special talent out there. Like you got the Floyd Mayweather of boxing. Do you see what I mean? And it's there's so many different components there.
Yeah, Amazon game became so much more complex right now, and people who know how to do it is already a very small group of people. There are lots of people who try. They may have very unique products and they get successful with that product simply because they're unique. And then they try to do something else, and it fails because they face this competition from these tough guys, right? But I know a few sellers that consistently add products, they grow their brand, and consistently they have #1 ranking, #2, #3 ranking across all of their brand. So this happens. But of course, it's not luck. It's calculated. There is no luck here. They know what they're doing, right? And for anybody who is new and who is trying to get successful, the only advice I can have these days is learn a lot, obviously. And second, you have to have something unique about your product, right? Then it will be, if it's a good product, then you may get lucky. If you do like what everybody else is doing, chances are you're not going to get lucky. That's my take on luck. Luck is a calculated experience. That's what luck is. Yeah.
Ivelin, and then we'll come to Brandon. What's your take on luck?
Yeah, so we have to separate two different things in luck, I think. First one is knowledge. So if you have, for example, all the knowledge and you have the, for example, the funds, your luck increases a lot, right? So for example, if we take the luck on the brand new seller and the luck on the experienced seller, there will be two completely different phases. So the brand new sellers, there's a lot of portion on luck. Like you're just starting a new product on Amazon and you just by intuition choose a product, by intuition you choose the supplier and everything else. And then there is a lot of luck involved in this because you don't know exactly what you're doing. If people who know exactly what they're doing from the research phase to the supplier to getting ready for the launch and getting ready for the negative reviews that will hit you at the beginning, if you're prepared for all of that, you will have higher chance of success. If you have all the funds behind your back, if you have a lot of money to start launching and to promote your product and to even hit on a very competitive market, luck all of a sudden starts to play for you, right? There is always the environment issues that anyone can face. You start with a supplier, the supplier gets bankrupt, your inventory gets lost, all of that stuff. I'm not counting on that, but hitting on the successful product, like taking on an idea and then execute the idea, for inexperienced seller, it's 100% luck. And I've seen this number of times. They start on a product, they do $1 million a year, and then they try to reproduce that 10 times, and they will fail 10 times in a row. Nothing happens. And if you ask for a successful seller, they will never admit, right? They'll say, okay, I've done all the research, I know how to launch, I know that. But if you ask for someone who failed, they'll say, oh, the other guy just got lucky, he was on the right time for that specific product and got successful. So time is also very important. When exactly you're launching the product, maybe it's one of the most important. But again, if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, well, we'll come back to time. I want to talk about the 2015 effect and what I've seen across the board and leading up to today. But Brandon, I want you to step in on the Deluxe side of things.
Yeah, I tend to agree and disagree with my friends here. So I do agree that there are a lot of 7-figure sellers that got lucky, and a lot of them will admit it. I mean, so being I was one of the founding members of MDS, $1 Million Sellers, and they have 300 members doing at least 7 figures, and a lot of them are in that same exact position where they have a hero product, they got lucky, and they've tried to duplicate it many times and have continuously failed. But they admit it, and that's why they join a mastermind. That's why they're seeking knowledge. That's why they're seeking to be around other successful people to see if they can figure out the formula for duplicating this.
We lost you there for a moment, Brandon. Just moving on slightly. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
go
sorry
on.
about that. Someone was calling me. Where did I cut out? I'm sorry.
We just come up to the point of being educated, and a lot of people would admit that they effectively got a bit lucky with stuff, and that's why they want to apply to more education for it.
Yeah, and so they're trying to create that formula for success, and it is. So Amazon private label is solved. The algorithm is solved. I mean, the guys on the call pretty much know, like Leo said, we know how to rank and launch a product. The key is doing the correct research on what's going to convert to keep you there organically. Like what type of product is going to earn the correct data for click-through rates, conversion rates, and convert better than your competition in order to maintain that rank. So with regards to whether people are prepared or not, I think that the sentiment is true. 99% of the sellers on Amazon or higher are not aware of many of the things that they need to be aware of to duplicate the success and to correctly choose a product, optimize it, and rank it. They don't understand how to do it. And like Leo said, there are friends of ours and myself and some of my students, and this is what we teach is, this is how you do it. This is the formula. This is how you choose a product based on keyword research and data. This is how you can look at the competition and see if the market is oversaturated, if it's too competitive. And not to say that you can't go into a competitive niche and compete, but you have those bad actors Leo talked about. But there's the three things that make anything. The formula to success is always knowledge, skill, and desire. So
resilience as well. Yeah.
And if you can have the knowledge, but then applying that knowledge is the skill, and then having the desire to grow a business to 7 and 8 figures is the other missing component. And so there are many, many sellers that are complacent with getting lucky, launching a product, having mediocre success, or blaming other people, or always pointing to some other reason that they failed besides themselves. So I disagree with the guys. I think that the Amazon private label, the algorithm, everything is solved. It's just a matter of knowledge, skill, and desire.
Yeah. Would it be fair to say, and we're friends, you do run a course? So for you, like everyone has their biases. Like I'm biased towards PPC over something else. Someone's more biased to giveaways and stuff. I'm not disputing anything what you're saying, but do you think there is a recognizable bias there, that the fact that you are a course provider as well, that turn out good students, that turn out success as well?
So I think you need all of those components, right? I don't think that PPC is better than anything else or any worse than anything else, but I think
what I meant is the bias. Picture. You lean certain ways rather than it's like that's magical, because it's not. We know that, if you got a shit product, PPC ain't going to save it. PPC is an amplifier. That's it.
That's 100% true. And so PPC is a great indicator as to whether your product's going to survive in the long run, because if your PPC is not converting, then then it's likely that your organic's not going to convert and your ranks are going to slide, your product's dead. If you're only getting your conversions through PPC, then you did a shit job ranking it organically and doing the research as to which keywords can drive sales and ranking it on those keywords and having PPC maintain those ranks for you. So like I said, we approach it from a very different standpoint. We think it's solved and we duplicate it ourselves in our own business. And I see my students duplicate it with a very high success rate.
Yeah, cool. Excellent. The 2015 effect, as I like to call it. I see a lot of people come out the gate. Obviously, it was very much more open, Wild West on Amazon back then. It was a lot easier to do. Obviously, reviews are a lot easier to come by. Some of the things that I see is over the years, you see a big drop off. Like, I think there are sometimes, and this comes down to resilience as well, and whether you've experienced failure or not. I've seen some people not get overconfident, but maybe they got lucky, and then what happens is they read Tim Ferriss's book, went on the 4-hour work week, and then I see them coming to return, and then they play this defensive role because they didn't bring out any new products. And what it is, their mind was still in 2015. So come the end of that cycle, 18 months, 24 months, or wherever it may be, they're not getting new products. They're actually in survival and going around and going, well, I need to do this latest hack and this hack and this hack to try and revive it. And I've seen that being quite a common theme over the years, and I think psychology plays a part in that as well, because people then start to doubt themselves a bit, right? Because they're going, well, hold on, I've had all these hits 18 months ago. I'm just coming back off my cruise or wherever I've been, or working on other projects, right? Some people do. They diversify. They go and do a bit of software. They buy a bit of property and stuff, and then they come back, and it's just they just can't get it, and then suddenly that starts to fuck with their mind as well. Because it's like, well, I knew I'd done it like this before. I mean, Leo, you're in the more consumer end of stuff. The same with Ivelin. What is your takes on that? What have you seen since 2015 up to date? Do you agree with some of the points I've raised?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say people who are entering Amazon these days, right now, and learning everything from scratch, they have advantage over the people who learned it wrong in 2015.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of people who made a lot of money 2015, 16, etc. back then. And as you said, they went on with their lives. Their products were doing great till they're not doing great, and they get replaced by something else. And they're coming back with the same old knowledge, and they're thinking, oh, I'm just going to do some giveaway. I'm just going to do some whatever, and I'm going to fix everything. And they don't fix it. The game has become much more complex than that, both on PPC side, both on launching, both on maintaining your rankings. And those people have to relearn. And relearning is always more difficult than learning, again, like from scratch, right? So in a way, there is an opportunity for new sellers. But you should also understand that for new sellers, you need way more money. Like I keep seeing on Facebook, like, is it enough to launch a product with 5K? No. Approach it as a big business, estimate your market, be ready to lose for 3-4 months, etc. And your first product will likely fail, your second product will likely fail, and then you will learn. So like any business, you open a coffee shop, you don't doubt how much money you're going to invest in decoration and trying the menu, etc. And here people still think it's get rich quick place. It was. It's not anymore. So yeah, basically old sellers who got lucky in 2015, they need to relearn. They need to approach it more systematically or be out, out of this game. It's not for you anymore. And the new sellers, they need to understand this is a complicated business. And you can sell only on Amazon, and you can do only launches, and you can do only PPC. You have to sell on Shopify. You have to learn Facebook ads. You have to learn everything else to be at least competitive with the guys who know how to do it, right? And then, on top of it, your product has to be better and cheaper. So that's the game.
Ivelin, what's your take on it, mate?
I completely agree. So it became a game of knowledge and funds. So the big sellers have a huge advantage now. They source faster, they rank faster, they can improve products. This has become huge. Like, you can't just go private label. It's getting hard. So instead, a lot of innovation will be involved. A lot of improving inventions, all of that becomes advantage and knowledge. But I agree that the data, because we're here because we have a lot of data, all of us have that in common. The data shows that really most people got lucky. As you said, 2015, 16, they got lucky with one product, and they can't replicate it a second time. That's the majority of the sellers.
I lost the sound.
You're muted, Danny.
Yeah, Danny, you're muted.
I'm back. Can you hear me now? Yeah, cool. Yeah, so do you have any take on this, Ellis? Obviously, you worked at Jungle Scout back in that period, and it's still a big tool today, but it was one of the first tools that come around to be one of the large tools, didn't it? What's your sentiments on that as well with that 2015 rush?
So something comes to mind, and that is we did a demographics evaluation of this across to look at seller success across different age ranges, wealth coming into it, gender. I don't remember, a number of factors that we were able to get for this, and the the idea would have been that if we could put out something to say that, see, this is it's egalitarian. You can come from any background, do well on Amazon, and this was not the result of it. So I'm not going to say, Greg didn't want to publish the results, so I'm not going to say anything about it, but it definitely was not egalitarian. There were some very clear trends that showed, I'll mention one thing that showed that either being new, young and having luck was a good factor, or being older and having a lot of knowledge was a good factor in these were two good things the two things that tended to lead to success. And in general, the older experienced people were the ones that had the most success. And so this goes along with what some of the other guys like Brandon have been saying. If you really have developed a good business, then it is something that within that business, you can reproduce, developing more products and expanding over time well. Yeah, I forgot the question now, though, after I mentioned
it was just the sentiments of the 2015 where people came out, they launched some products, they had these hits, went off and done other businesses, went on the beach, done 4-hour work week, came back.
We just see it getting harder and harder. That's well known, more competitive, more of, as was mentioned, more of the people who are attacking your listings. That existed back in 2015 too, but
just not as much as it is today.
Yeah.
Brandon, what's your sentiments on that?
Yeah, 100%. I think that a lot of people, we have friends. Leo and I from MDS have many friends who launched products very successfully, 2012 to 2016, and had a hero product making them a ton of money. They got very comfortable, bought a house, bought a nice car, thought they would retire, and then the product started to slip, and then they realized, oh shit, I need to work. I need to actually do this. And then things had changed, so they didn't know how to do it. But that's the power of being in a mastermind and being around other people that have figured it out, so that you can learn to duplicate that success. But it is duplicatable.
Well, there's a smaller sample set that I've seen is that you got the 215 and then you got the 2010 mob. Right? These are the guys who threw stuff on Amazon and they just floated up the top of the Amazon jungle. Suddenly, people started to get knowledge, right? And then there's this big woof where they come in and all these grandfathered in products kind of get pushed down. And they're up in arms because they're then complaining. It's like, well, what do we do now? All these people are overtaking us and stuff. And I think, again, it comes down to you've got to live and breathe and be in the game, haven't you? You've got to be consistent, because once you take...
Well, not only that, so like offers just get better over time. Optimization of images and content drives most of the conversions. So if someone comes in with a slightly better looking image than your shit image you stole off of Alibaba because you just took the product and threw it up there and you were successful, obviously you're just going to get overtaken by somebody that does a professional shoot, knows psychology of how to do content and knows how to present their product with a better offer. Adding bundles. Margins get squeezed over time. People come in and compete on price, but then they compete on value. So there's so much to it, and new designs, that look better, that appeal to people on a different level. We're not all selling garlic presses. There are design elements to each product. There's design elements to your listing. There's adding A+ content. There's branding. There's adding videos. Like, all of these things bump conversion rate. And so if you got complacent and you didn't do these things properly, people started to do them better than you, then you're just going to get overtaken over time. And that's what contributes to the life value of a product. Yeah.
Next one, cycles, product life cycles. 18 months, 24, starting with you, Evelyn, what do you see on the average product cycle, what to expect? Because me and Ellis have looked into this in the past where the demand of the market goes down, but the seller's still trying to push ahead and trying to recapture to retain where they are. But simply, if you look at the data, the brand analytics report, the searches are going down, therefore it's squeezing down on the market. What are you seeing in terms of expectancy of life cycles of products nowadays?
So the longest living products that I have, they're from 2014.
Right.
Usually what I see is that no matter how good is my product, after 2-3 years, there is a decline. So I have to either modify the product, adjust to the trends, or completely abandon it. And a lot of times I completely abandon because of many factors. But there is always, there should be always a strategy at least ready for a few months ahead, that you have to improve your product and adjust it to the market. And a lot of the trendy markets that we had, for example, in 2010 are like completely gone now on Amazon. A lot of, for example, the physical products that I had were completely destroyed by digital industry. So you have no choice. You have to just forget about this product and just start something new. But typical life cycle, I think, is 2 to 3 years. I see that you have to have a radical change in the product.
Okay, that's interesting. Leo, what's your sentiment?
Well, it really depends on the category, right? If you sell something classical, such as Oxford shoes, you may sell for the next 100 years. If your quality is good, if you keep up with the changes of Amazon, your hero product, if it is very good, like Clark's, for example, it's a big brand, right? But they keep selling. They've been selling and they keep selling. If you're in supplements, for example, category, and you came up with a new supplement, some new gummies or whatever, the life cycle may be just a year, right? Or maybe even less. If you go out of fashion, people buy less. You may still maintain the rankings and everything, you just sell less. But I know some guys, they have 170,000 reviews, for example. Throwing out that listing is trouble. So they try to do different things to bring it back, sometimes good things, sometimes bad things, changing the product completely, etc., and they get back. Or there are like products that are neutral, right? Neutral products. They may have like 12 months, 20 months cycle, and then they go away because something is fundamentally wrong with the way they were done 20 months ago, and now they have to re-engineer the whole listing, the whole strategy, etc. So Amazon is also changing. We cannot predict. 20 months or 1 year is too long to say anything about anything. They may come up with something, and then those people who catch up faster with the news and they implement those changes, like A+ content, plays a huge role. And I still see a lot of listings that didn't implement it, and they didn't even have brands. They don't have brand registry. Of course, all of those are out. They're going out fast. Right, but people who are on top of what they're doing, they may have a classical product for 10 years, I believe. But if it's something that quick fashion, then you go out quickly.
I was going to say, we'll move to Brandon now. He pumps products out on a regular basis. So you probably don't suffer from that. But what I've seen is when people get into the product sourcing side, they stop. And then they play the rescue mission as the market starts to go down, or their attractiveness against competition goes down. But you're constantly, I don't know whether you redevelop or get rid of them, but you're constantly putting products out there. I know that Ellis has spoken about, you want to build an Amazon business, just keep building products. Don't stop. Just keep going. Obviously you've got to have all the mechanics in place, but what's your take?
That's 100% true. I think our biggest mistake the first couple of years we were selling is that we would put too much effort into trying to salvage products that were dying or that weren't converting. It was almost an ego thing where it's like, well, we have this formula. We're supposed to give away a certain number of products. It's supposed to rank. We're supposed to be rich, right? And so like this was the old thinking and what worked like maybe for a couple of years with ranking products. And obviously things change, and it would be like if I was putting out a fashionable product that was based on fashion and my conversion rate was just lower and people just preferred a different style than mine, I would still spend $20,000 doing a bunch of marketing and giveaways and really trying to salvage a product. But if I just taken the product and thrown it in the trash, it would only cost me $3,000. So and so that was a mistake that we were making. So we've come to the realization that we have to move on from products that are showing signs that they're not going to convert, not going to be able to rank and effectively stay there, and continue to move on. And like, yeah, the best strategy is continuously have a pipeline of products and continuously be developing the products and grow the business and scale the business through the sheer number of products you're launching on a regular basis. And a certain percentage are going to stay, a certain percentage are going to get thrown out, a certain percentage you're going to not make money on. For us, it's like 20% of the products we don't even make money, but 80% we do. But of that 80%, you know, a little over half we actually keep. So 50% of the products we launch, we end up still selling 6 months, a year later. But you know, we can continuously just keep launching products and scale the brand and the brands and the businesses that way.
Yeah. But you can see why psychology plays in that as well. If we're in an ecosystem that you're taught like, yeah, we're just having hit after hit after hit. Someone has a product and it doesn't go so well, they're setting their bar against all of the word of the world outside, right?
Yeah.
When you've just turned around and said effectively, look, I'm not fucking Jesus. Effectively, if it don't work, it don't work. You put it in the trash, you move on, you save money by dumping it. And I know other sellers that do that, who do 8 figures as well. I think their hit rate is about 60%, and obviously their drop-off's 40%. But the way they see it is that they've had to optimize what's the cheapest way of dumping this product with the least amount of pain. So they're losing less in money and also time in something that you can't buy back in.
100%. That's exactly right. So it's all about time management. It's all about understanding very quickly whether a product's going to work or not, looking at the data and making a decision. And it could even be a factor of the quality of the product. Like, you know, sometimes you just get a bad batch and it's like, well, can we fix it and relaunch it? And so we do a lot of relaunches too on a completely new listing and as a new variation. A good way to salvage old listings is you create a new variation under the same listing. You can maintain your reviews, but now you get a new honeymoon. You get a new opportunity to represent this product with a whole fresh opportunity. Yeah.
Ellis, got anything you want to add here?
Yeah, I'm afraid I don't remember what the question was originally. Yeah.
We were just talking about, like, just bouncing off of what Brandon has just said, is that it's almost like in our community, it's like a given. You're meant to have all like these hits, and the fact is, he's man enough to say, no, right, look, if we hit 50% of those, that's wonderful. Yep. But the psychology for people is like they might see themselves as failures, which feeds into a negative vibe into their own business, which takes them off track because the bar's been set. Say, oh yeah, no, you know, we don't get rid of products. We have hit after hit. Then that makes them not to feel insecure. They're looking at what we're doing wrong when they should be looking at, well, how do we get rid of this product and move on to the next one without a big impact on the business?
So nothing is always going to be a success. I mean, this is just a mathematical truth of physics. And so if somebody's saying that they're always having success, then their bar is either being set super low, but much more likely they don't have a good grasp of reality, or they're lying.
I'll go with they're full of shit.
And so, yeah, I mean, I would, like, in terms of like your particularly, I mean, just really successful products, maybe like Brandon, you were saying, you maybe end up keeping half of them. And of those half, you're going to have a big distribution of how much of a success or how much profit you end up getting per year in each of those. And so maybe it's a tenth of them that, that really fly tremendous. I mean, like relative, or that make up a a good percentage of those sales. Of the even though they're all successes, there are the successes among the successes. And if you're wanting to have one of these super successes, you know, it might be a 1 in 10 kind of ratio. And that doesn't mean that every 10 products you put out are going to be a super success. Because if you're looking for something that happens 1 in 10 times, there's no surprise if it doesn't happen in the first 10 times, you know, because it's only 10 times, 1 in 10 times on average. If it doesn't happen 1 in 15 times, you're still not going to be surprised. You know, if you just have a sense, an intuition for what die rolls are like, you know that 1 in 10 chance doesn't mean that you're going to get that super hit in the first 15 rolls of a 10-sided die. On the other hand, you might get 3 hits right away. That chance is also possible.
Cool. So just to start to round things off a little bit. So what I'm taking from the conversation from the beginning to the top of the hour is that education and money is obviously plays a big role. Like what Leo said is that it's easier to learn than it is to relearn because obviously of having bad habits, right? The product cycle, looking at 15, 16 to 20 months to be realistic on those products unless they're a classic, good brand and they're a mainstay of some kind and they're not down the based around trends. Going back to what Brandon said and what Ellis has said as well, is that pipeline of products, you keep stacking the SKUs, but then being humble enough to know that you've got to get rid of some of those because some are simply not going to work. And that, you know, time is money, not just money is money. Ivelin, what other data do you want to present? Is there other things you want to bring towards the end of this call?
I can tell you stories. Like there are so many stories that confirm one side.
I love a story. Here's a story. Go on. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you can find an example for everything. You know, if you look for people that get consistent over time, like they pick a completely random niche and then they make a success, I know these stories. And I know stories about hundreds of people that fail miserably. I have about 400 calls on Clarity only. And I can tell you 90% of these people call because they fail somewhere. Yeah. A lot of them, they have a lot of money and they fail. And a lot of them have no money and they also fail or succeed. So there's no consistency across that. But
so we're going back to a little bit on the luck side as well. If you've had 400 calls,
in everything we do.
Yeah.
Luck, I define luck is like a number of events can go completely wrong or completely right from the beginning, and there's nothing you can do about it. Yeah. And if they all in the chain go wrong, it can ruin the product and the launch and everything. And this can happen, right? And it can happen the exact opposite. Yeah. Even if you're 100% prepared for everything, things can go wrong. So there's always chance. So we do just our best to the best of our knowledge. We prepare and we educate ourselves constantly so that we can stay on top of the game. And I think that's what we can do. Yeah. Luck can be controlled by having more knowledge and more money. And
Leo, anything to add here?
Well, all I can say is that Amazon is just a marketplace, right? It's just a place to sell your stuff. Your business doesn't begin on Amazon. Your business begins with your product idea, with the uniqueness of your product, with your patents and trademarks and all that. People need to want your product outside of Amazon before you even enter Amazon. Amazon is an excellent channel once you know how to do it. But if you sell something that everybody else can reproduce like this, chances are like more than 90% you're not going to succeed. Well, that's my idea. Well, somebody else may disagree with that. Work on your product first, right? And use Amazon as your channel, Shopify as your channel, Walmart, which is picking up greatly lately, as your channel, etc., etc., etc. And then learn the game of Amazon. If you cannot learn, hire experts. I've seen more success where agencies run somebody's products than when people launch themselves, right? That knowledge that you're gonna learn, it's also an opportunity cost. Instead of developing new products, you have to learn all of this, right? So maybe just rely on experts somewhere, experts in Facebook, experts in, it's hard to find experts. I know there's a lot of scammers out there, people who don't know what they're talking about. But if you are part of Mastermind or a group, usually those are filtered out easily, you know, and money makes up for a lot of opportunity costs, right? You can buy a patent, you can buy a unique product, you can buy experience, you can buy people, right? So enter this game with some cash. Or be genius, learn everything, do everything yourself. I've seen those examples too, right? And beat everybody up, and then use the money to grow your business.
Yep.
Yeah.
Brandon.
I think it's just a fascinating conversation. Obviously, things can go right or go wrong. To me, success is just going to come more often if you set yourself up for it, right? So I think that the formula for success is always going to be that, you know, knowledge, skill, and desire side of it. Now, as Ivelin said, I mean, you can definitely have your shipment get dumped into the sea, right? Like we just had a few containers end up in the middle of the ocean last, couple months ago. You can have Amazon change some regulations right when your product arrives. You can have your factory mess up something on all of your products, and like I've seen all of these situations happen, and that's bad luck, right? Like to me, that's bad luck. But whether you're successful in this business, I think you can be successful at a very high percentage if you are willing to learn, understand, and grow your knowledge, learn how to implement that knowledge, and then have a desire to work hard and grow the business. But you have to treat it. I agree that Leo says that people don't want to just buy your product on Amazon, that it has to be something that people want to buy anywhere. But the key with Amazon is that the traffic is built in. It is its own ecosystem. The traffic is built in on Amazon. But to his point, you can test your product next to somebody else's using tools like PickFu, right? Where you put your product and the leading product on Amazon, and you can see if 100 people, out of 100 people, which one they pick. That's a good way to test whether yours will convert on Amazon. It's not foolproof, but it's a good way to see, okay,
it's an indicator.
Maybe I'm on the right track with my design or with my images or before it lands, so that you can enter a little bit more optimized and not try to scramble to figure it out after you launch. But so there's just so much to this business, and the learning curve is so steep, and you can spend months and months learning it and still not know what you don't know. So my biggest recommendation is get around other successful people and learn from each other.
Yeah. I also think resilience plays a role, and how you react to failure and what your ego is like. So some people are ashamed because their ego doesn't allow them to fail. And so that becomes a problem within their own business. I'm not saying that's everyone out there. I'm just saying there are people out there. And I think when you see people, I mean, I think everyone around this table has failed at something, right? If you've never failed at something and then you get 4 containers go over and fall into the sea, you're probably going to freak the fuck out, right? You're probably going to go mental. But Brandon, you've probably gone, oh, here we go again. And it's maybe not that relaxed, but it's knowing and having the ability to deal with those kind of things, because it's how you react to stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks, right? Like you just have things happen. For every year that we've been in this business, we had something go wrong. We had a product that failed or that had an issue. We did $1 million in revenue our first year and made $0, like profit, like with $50,000 profit, basically just paid our bills. So we'd made no profit. So we've had failure after failure, and it is because we've learned from each one, and it's because we've been persistent and consistent, and we knew that the opportunity wasn't going away, it was only getting better, that we stuck with it. And I think you're right. I think a lot of people, they repeat the same mistakes over and over, or they give up because they think that it's bullshit. But the business is great. I mean, you have to learn, and you have to be consistent. You have to work hard. Yeah.
Going back to you, Leo, and then we'll come back around the room. An example is if you wake up one morning and you've got, 151 star reviews. Again, it's how you react, isn't it? Like we've had that with clients before. We've got on the phone, sort things out. They're gone in 2 or 3 days, whether that's through us, third party or whatever. But it's how you react, I think, plays a massive role in everything.
Well, it happened, and you react negatively. It spoils your mood, of course. But it happened to me so many times already that it's just part of calculated risk.
Yeah.
So 1-star reviews, products get banned for ridiculous reasons because somebody in Canadian marketplace added banned keywords, etc. You know, there are so many things that can happen to your products that eventually it becomes a game of large numbers. And you try to, like close some holes where the water is trying to get in. But eventually, with experience, your positive should outweigh your negative, and then you grow, right? And I also a strong believer in that once you put your mind into something, there's even a saying, I forgot how it is, that the whole universe conspires in helping you, right? So if you are so focused on something, you are gonna succeed. Maybe not now, maybe not now, maybe not now, but if you're persistent, you are gonna succeed. It's just people give up. And I'm an example of that. I failed a lot of products, I failed a lot of softwares, but I keep going, You have to keep going. And eventually, there's more good things happening to you than bad things happening to you. And I don't know anybody who is persistent who is not successful. I don't know anybody who puts his mind or her mind into something and did not achieve success. The question is time, right? And maybe some people picked a little bit slower business that it takes slower, but we are in a very fast-paced business. Amazon is where you're gonna make a lot of money if you put your mind into it. You just have to really, really, remove everything else and focus on it. Yeah. Then you're gonna succeed.
I think you also, and I'll come to Ivelin next on this as well. I think you build up a resolve in terms of, let's just say it's your first business, you're selling on Amazon or whatever. You took the check on a monthly basis. You're not used to running at the pace of what we do in different areas. Brandon's got a different level of pressure to me. Same with Ellis and etc. I kind of, the way we're with the agency and everything is I kind of say, look, I'll take care of all the shit. Like I put out the fires and try and make stuff happen. That's kind of my job. But I'm not the same person now that I was 10, 15 years ago, because some of the things that I would face now, which is like water off a duck's back, I would be, sleepless nights 10 years ago. And I think with the consistency, and then when you have failures, they ratchet up. Like going back to the Brandon thing, if 3 containers fall into the water, right? That's the equivalent of a new seller having, I don't know, their pre-shipment inspection failing on 1,000 units, right? It's relative to what you grow into those things. And I think if you don't have failure that is almost, what's the word for it? You can get away with running fast, breaking things on a daily basis, but then having enough about you to repair them small damages, and you keep chipping away and fixing them. But what you can't afford is a catastrophic failure, because a catastrophic failure from a bad decision will take years sometimes to get back on a psychological level, a financial level, and everything else. And I think that is some things that you have to look off as well. If you get lucky in the very, very beginning and have an amazing impact, when it goes wrong, is like, it comes down to your metal. How do you deal with it, and what level can you take that stress at?
I love that point, Danny. And in game theory, it's basically bankroll management. It's understanding how much you're risking with every single opportunity that you're attempting.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, a lot of people enter this business with $5,000 or $10,000, and I think it's possible. But if that fails, then it's going to take them a while to build back up to do it again. Yeah. The consistency is important, and it's Leo said, if you decide to never give up in this business and keep learning from each product and each mistake, you're going to eventually find something that is successful, and you're going to have success in the long run. People's situations are different, their capital and opportunity is different, but even at my level, I can't risk all of my eggs in one basket, because then maybe I can go to the bank and based on my previous history, I can get a loan for $1 million, right? And then I can start all over. But most people aren't in that situation. So you don't want to risk it all. And I wouldn't want to be in that situation either. So bankroll management, I think, is important.
Yeah. Ivelin, consistency, failure, and stuff? What's your take?
All of that, correct. The only thing that I can add to all of that is that you have to have a system so that you can grow and something to come back to revise. Basically, you want to see what went wrong and how you can fix it. And if you don't have a system, it's very hard, right?
Yeah.
So brand new sellers, experienced sellers, we need well-defined systems to follow.
Cool. Ellis, do you want to add anything here?
Yeah. So, Leo was, you just said something that can be really encouraging to people to, keep at it till they reach success. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. The flip side, so that's one of for my children, that's one of the things that I really emphasize. The other side that I emphasize just as much is that failure is such an integral part of life, and bad luck is going to be an integral part of, it's just going to be happening all the time in life, and especially in business. And so what you really need is the tenacity and resources to get through that. Sometimes these resources are like Evelin's been saying, money helps, that's, or as Brandon just mentioned, if you put the 10,000 into one product and that was all the money you had, then, and it doesn't work out, you're going to have to make up that 10,000 again before you can, give it your next go.
Yeah. And that's where the stress levels come in. A 10 grand to a new seller with that on the line is $1 million or $500,000 to Brandon. It's relative. Like that stress that human feels is going to be the same stress as Brandon. It's just the difference is there's a few more zeros at play, but it's relative to his position.
Yeah. And going along with that, I think it's a lot wiser, or put it this way, what I'm trying to emphasize to my children is aiming for success, not for super success, aiming for success. And, every once in a while, by chance, the super success will come along, but, it's not that you're going to become the next big, don't plan on becoming the next big super whatever film star or rock star or something, or author. Going for success is a much more reliable way to move forward than expecting super success and then having all the disappointments when you don't, because it's not going to happen unless it's by chance.
Yeah. So be ambitious, but be realistic of your ambition.
But I think that's important, Al, is like exactly what you're saying, is that if you define success as one benchmark and then you get to the next benchmark, that's how we've all scaled up, right? Yeah. So, we're just playing at a different level because we've stepped up to that level. And it's like people talk about these investors like, by the way, everyone should buy Dogecoin. It's awesome. So, but like we look at these hedge fund managers and these billionaires and these people playing with those extra zeros. And it's like they got to that point because they've leveled up a bunch of times to get there. But they've had success after success after success. And maybe they've had failures and stepped back and then come back up. And it's like we diversify our risk. We don't go all in because we have multiple accounts and multiple brands. And that's how we diversify our risk. We don't want one aspect of our entire business getting shut down because our account gets shut down. We don't want one entire niche to be impacted by a pandemic randomly out of bad luck, right? Like you were talking about earlier, Alice, with, we have products in the travel industry. So, we did have a 90% hit on some of our products. Yeah, but definitely. Then again, we have a lot of toys that were up 300% during that same time. So it balanced out. So we diversify in our own way, but we've stepped up to that point over the course of the last 4.5, 5 years. And I think that people looking at me want to be me overnight, but it's not going to happen. And I think that Danny's point, the point though, is that the point that Leo keeps making is that desire is that last part. Desire is what will keep you from giving up.
Yeah, agree. Let's say goodbyes, unless you've got any final words. I think that was quite a good session. Evelyn, best way people could reach you?
Yeah, Orange Hat Marketing Group. If you want to join me, or just by messenger, I'm happy to help if I can. I specialize only on custom design products. I'm not a private label at all, but anything that is custom made or stuff, I'm happy to help.
Excellent. Leo?
Well, Leo at eliteseller.com, Leo at rebatekey.com, or any customer support ticket, you can just mention, I want to talk to Leo. I'll reply. Thank you.
Yeah. Brandon?
You can just find me on Instagram, brandon.young_Amazon. You can message me there. I'm moving away from Messenger and Facebook. The Zuck is pissed me off enough. And
I was going to say, I was excited to see you stepping your game up over on Insta. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to be over on Instagram more and YouTube. Find me on YouTube. I'm putting out a ton of content there that's hopefully just adding value and helping people. And my Facebook group, I still have a Facebook group, is Seller Systems Succeeding on Amazon.
Yeah. Ellis?
You can get hold of me through Danny.
Cool. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. I'll be back here 4 p.m. BST tomorrow. We've got Yeb Mirasenko coming in. We'll be talking about some more off Amazon stuff, Facebook, AdWords, and a few other bits. Those who know Yeb in the space, really good guy. Yeah, we'll probably talk a little bit about geo ranking and stuff. He was one of the main proponents early doors, as was Evelyn. So we're back here 4 p.m. tomorrow. Take care of yourself and your family. Much love. See you then.